Okay, let's keep this ball rolling. Selection number 7. We are having a look, or I'm having a look at the 35 years of the draft, the VFL/AFL draft, 1986 through to 2021, trying to identify the best players taken inside the top 10. So I started with pick number 10 and decided that Patrick Dangerfield was the best ever pick number 10 in the history of the draft. Number 9, Martin Pike. I decided that he was the best pick in relation to pick number 9 across the history of the draft. And then pick number 8, I decided that Jimmy Bartel was the best ever. So Dangerfield at 10, Pike at 9, and Bartel at 8. And I've just rearranged that, the My Blue Heaven power rankings. Pushed Martin Pike to 10. Jimmy Bartel, unfortunately, from pick 8, he goes up to pick number 9. And Patrick Dangerfield, he's coming right down. He's gone from pick number 10 into pick number 8. So let's have a look at number 7 in the draft. So we're going to start with the not-so-notables as we usually do with this. And once again, I'll keep repeating it. This is no knock on any of these blokes. It's always interesting to go back and have a look at some of the misses, so to speak. And not all of these were complete misses, but they hardly set the world on fire. So we go right back to 1986, the first ever selection, number 7. And a South Australian from West Torrens, Chris Lindsay, was picked up by North Melbourne, came to Arden Street. Now, my research tells me, if it's correct, that Lindsay spent 3 years at Arden Street but didn't play a senior game. That's a long time. 1987, the following year, Darren Davies from North Hobart went to Footscray. He ended up playing 39 games and kicked 39 goals. Played a couple of those games at St Kilda, and he missed just the one game for Footscray in 1988, his first season at the Whitten Oval. And he amassed a really credible 343 disposals and kicked 21 goals in that year. So he could obviously play. 1989, the first of many misses for the Carlton Football Club. Stephen Edgar from WA spent 2 years at Princes Park and played just the 14 games. And, he didn't really set the world on fire, Stephen. 1990, the Blues had another crack. Another boy from WA came to Princes Park, Damien Hansen, and he failed to play a game. A senior game for the Blues, and after 2 seasons they shipped him back to Western Australia, where he was given an opportunity at the Eagles, and he did play 6 games for the West Coast Eagles in 1993 and 1995. But another miss for the Carlton Football Club with selection number 7. 1991, Jeremy Gard, who could play a little bit. Another WA boy, picked up by Fitzroy, played 68 games for the Lions between 1992 and 95. He actually didn't miss a game in any of his in his first 2 seasons at Fitzroy, playing all 42 home and away games, but decided to go back to WA in 1996 and played in the Premiership at the Claremont Football Club. 1992, Richmond selected Wayne Herneman with number 7. Another lad from WA, a bit of a trend here with selection number 7. And he ended up playing 20 games for Richmond in 93 and 94. 1995, Ben Edwards only lasted 1 year at the Dockers and was delisted. Failed to play a senior game with Fremantle. That was 1995. 1996, Bowen Lockwood, a young key position prospect from Geelong College and the Geelong Falcons, ended up playing 50 games and kicked 45 goals for the Power across 5 seasons. But unfortunately retired at the age of 24 because of chronic back concern. He copped that injury in 1999, in fact, with a pretty severe accident at training. One of his teammates ran into him. 2000, Lawrence Angwin. Well, if you're a Carlton supporter and an Adelaide supporter, in fact, any football fan really that was around watching the game in the early 2000s would remember Lawrence Angwin. Pick number 7, went to Adelaide. He was a Melbourne boy, didn't play a game at Adelaide, and was delisted after 1 season. Just couldn't settle there and was getting into a little bit of strife off field. A Carlton rookie listed him and gave him an opportunity. He spent a year and a half at Carlton but was sacked in his second season at the Blues after just 4 games for rocking up to training with Carl Norman. In fact, a Sunday morning recovery session, the 2 boys rocked up after being out all night on the Jack and Jills, the ecstasy pills. Carl Norman owned up to it. Lawrence Angwin decided to deny it to the club, so they drug tested him. And it was shown that he had ecstasy in his blood. So they sacked Lawrence Angwin. Not quite sure where Angwin is these days. 2003, Geelong got a Shepparton boy, Kane Tenase, ended up playing the 59 games for Geelong between 04 and 09. Just remember him being really speedy. But I remember Geelong just whinging and whining about, this is fans obviously whinging and whining about his foot skills. And he came through that sort of time where there was some real star power emerging at Geelong, and he just never was quite good enough. But still managed 59 games. And the final one in the not-so-notables, 2014, Paul Ahern, GWS Giants from the Calder Cannons, really, really highly rated coming through the under-18s, but 2 knee recos at the Giants, spent 3 seasons there, didn't play a game, then traded to North Melbourne, finally got on the park, played 22 games in 3 seasons at Arden Street, and actually impressed in his early sort of time at North Melbourne, then fell away and then got the chop. So just the 22 games for Paul Ahern with selection number 7. All right, let's have a look at the notables. And I reckon this is the earliest notable we've had. 1988, so just the 3rd year of the draft, Footscray got Leon Cameron, who ended up playing 193 games for both Footscray and Richmond. He was a Footscray Best and Fairest winner, and he was a very, very good player. Obviously went on to coach the GWS Giants for a long period of time, but he was a fine footballer, beautifully skilled on both sides of the body. Really well-balanced player across half-back. He could play. So that was 1998, pick number 7. Chris Johnson, another star. That was 1993. Was at Fitzroy and played a lot of football there, but he made his mark when Fitzroy obviously folded. He went to the Lions, one of 8 players to go there from Fitzroy when the 2 teams merged, ended up playing 264 games and kicked 172 goals. Started as a forward, ended up being one of the premier small defenders in the game for a long period of time. 2 times All-Australian and 3-time premiership player with the Lions through that really golden period for the Brisbane Lions. Tony Brown, St Kilda, 1994, 108 games for Tony Brown. Played, pretty sure he played in the losing 1997 grand final team for St Kilda against Adelaide. I'm pretty sure he did. I got a feeling he might have even been from the Geelong Falcons, Tony Brown. He was okay. Played 100 games of AFL football. Chris Massey, 1997, Carlton picked him up, but he probably did all his best work for Adelaide, where he found a niche across half back, played some reasonable football for Carlton, including playing in the losing 1999 grand final against North Melbourne. Ended up playing 131 games overall. 1998, Josh Carr. Port he started with, then went to Fremantle, then came back to Port. Port premiership player in 2004, real antagonistic type. Really, really tough in and under type sort of midfielder. Ended up playing 207 games across those three stints in the AFL with Port and Fremantle. David Hale, excellent player. Originally drafted by North Melbourne in 2001 with selection number 7. 100 games for both clubs. Not many players can do that. 3-time premiership player with Hawthorn and played 237 games and kicked 217 goals, and was one of those players that could play genuine ruck but go forward and be just a really dangerous option because he was such a good mark and a really accurate kick for goal. Andrew Mackie, another star, 2002 for the Cats, came through that golden period. Was a little bit of a surprise. I remember when he was picked up with number 7 from South Australia, 280 games, 3 premierships for the Cats, All-Australian 2013, and is now Geelong's list manager. Jordan Lewis, great player for Hawthorn, and then serviceable for Melbourne, 319 games, 4-time premiership player, All-Australian in 2014, and also a Hawthorn Best and Fairest winner. That was 2004. Paddy Ryder, who just retired from St Kilda. He was pick number 7 for Essendon in 2005. 281 games, 197 goals for Essendon, Port and St Kilda. Port Best and Fairest and also All-Australian in 2017. Paddy Ryder played quality football for all of those clubs. Not many players could probably say that they were really good at every one of the 3 clubs they played at, but Paddy Ryder could. He was a really good player. Reece Palmer, rising star winner at the Fremantle Dockers, where he was picked up in 2007 with selection number 7. Then left Freo, went to the Giants, and then came to Carlton as a rookie, I think it may have been, and I think played 1 game, but he should never have come to the Blues. I think it was some sort of salary dump or some type of thing, but he was cooked when he came to Carlton. But played okay football, obviously, really good at Freo in his first year, and then just a hard nut at the Giants. Could play that sort of small forward role and put a fair bit of pressure on. Daniel Rich, 2008, Western Australian, went to Brisbane and has been a fine footballer. Great distributor across half-back, one of the best kicks in the competition. Now played 267 games, still going. All-Australian late in his career in 2021. That's a fair effort. Rising star winner as well. So back-to-back rising star winners in 2007 and 2008 with selection number 7. Brad Shepherd, another fine footballer, 2009, West Coast Eagles, played the 216 games, somewhat, I suppose, retired a little bit earlier than what we thought. All-Australian in 2020, but unfortunately for Shepherd, he tore his hamstring in the final series in 2018, just before the Eagles went on to win the premiership, so he missed out. So didn't become a premiership player at the Eagles, but still played some really good football across 216 games for the West Coast Eagles. Josh Caddy, 2010, went to the Suns, then went to Geelong. Then a little bit of controversy saw him go to Richmond, and that's where he's made his mark. 174 games, kicked 164 goals, 2-time premiership player with the Tigers, and also All-Australian in 2018 with Richmond. Nick Haynes, intercept defender for the Giants, 2011, selection number 7, 174 games, still going, All-Australian in 2020, and GWS Best and Fairest winner. Ollie Wines, Bendigo boy, is Bendigo? Bendigo? Pretty sure it's Bendigo. Probably should have checked that. 2012, Port Adelaide got him with selection number 7. He's now played the 202 games. Brownlow medalist in 2021. All-Australian in 2021 and also won the Port Adelaide Best and Fairest in the same year. James Aish, he just appears to just get better and better and better. Looked like at certain times he was going to be on the scrap heap. Highly rated as a junior, but didn't quite get his act together at the Brisbane Lions. He's now played 137 games. Was drafted in 2013, so it's gone Brisbane, really good at Collingwood, really serviceable, but now is a really good player at Fremantle. James Yates. Jacob Hopper, 2015 for the Giants, has now clocked up the 114 games, but now finds himself at the Richmond Football Club with Timmy Taranto. What a pickup those two are going to be for the Tigers. Let's quickly go through these newbies. So they were our notable mentions. The newbies, 2016, Jack Scrimshaw, started at the Gold Coast, now at Hawthorn. Yeah, just getting going now, Jack Scrimshaw. So Clark's had some injuries, but really good player. I think he's going to be a really good player. 2017, 2018, Bailey Smith is a superstar. Love watching him play. So that's Western Bulldogs. Hayden Young, the same at Fremantle. Great halfback flanker. Heaps of talent. Beautiful user of the ball. 2020, Elijah Hollins hasn't played a lot of football as yet for the Gold Coast Suns. That was 220 in 2021. I reckon Josh Ward, he had a fine debut season for the Hawks. He was selection number 7 for the Hawthorn Football Club in 221. Okay. If you know the draft, if you know your pick 7s, this is not going to be a surprise. But the best ever, by far, pick number 7 across the 35 years of the VFL/AFL draft, which was 1986 through to 2021, is Joel Selwood. The Cats got him from the Bendigo region. In 2006, we picked number 7. He played 355 games, all at Geelong. He was the Rising Star winner in his debut year in 2007. He also kicked 175 goals for the Cats. He was a 4-time Premiership player for Geelong, 2007, 2009, 2011, and 2022. He was a 6-time All-Australian, 4 times AFL Player Association Most Courageous Player. He's a 3 times Best and Fairest winner at the Cats. And he was the Geelong captain from 2012 through to 2022, which included being the captain of Geelong's premiership team this year. Can't argue with that. Joel Selwood, the best ever pick number 7 in the history of the draft. So let's have a look at our power rankings. So, what we've got here. Originally, we had Dangerfield 10, Pike 9, Jimmy Bartel 8, but we've shifted it to Pike 10, Jimmy 9, Danger 8. Pike stays at 10. Jimmy stays at 9. Danger stays at 8. Selwood stays at 7. I don't think you can't argue with it. Dangerfield, obviously, one of the most explosive players to play the game, but geez, Selwood, you can't. He's just one of the all-time greats. So he stays at 7. I'll have pick 6 shortly, guys. See you soon.